think I'm live. Woo! Has anybody else noticed that this new Facebook Live thing, there's something that they did where everyone's like, am I live? Am I live? Right? That's how these videos always start these days. And every time I promise myself, no, I'm just gonna start talking, and then the thing spins, and I'm like, I don't know, am I live? I cannot remember the last time I did a Facebook Live. I honestly think it was March 2020. It's November 2020 now. And man, guys, I want to talk to you about something that I think is really important, that I think is actually at risk. I think, hey, Melissa, I think that permission to listen to our own inner discernment and our own inner knowing is at risk now more than ever. I have been pretty damn quiet. I have not sent out a lot of newsletters. I think I've sent out one newsletter to my list. I haven't done any Facebook Lives since March, probably. Um, Not because I haven't been working. I've been working with clients privately, and I've been working inside myself to get clarity around, what do I think? What do I believe? What's right for me? What's my path? What do I want? Who am I supposed to be hanging out with? And I felt a lot of pressure from my mind and ego pressure to get out there and express an opinion, right? Because so much has gone on, my God, right? Between COVID and Black Lives Matter and the election, and just to name a few big ticket items, right? But I noticed that aside from that real, I want to almost call it like a weird brand of FOMO, like that fear of missing out on an opportunity to this is going to sound fucked up, but I didn't do it. To capitalize on what was happening in the world, because I know that a lot of people have needed some kind of guidance and support, and I felt a little bit like, well, shouldn't I be out there offering it? Fortunately, people and I have been connecting behind the scenes, not on social media or in any real public venue, so that's been awesome. But what I really noticed when I listened to my most deepest inner knowing, that part of us is the quietest, right? That you have to really just give it space and time to be heard. It kept saying, not now, not now. You need to be with yourself and figure out what you really think and feel and believe. And this year, I feel like what's out in the public sphere has been choose a side, black and white thinking, dig in your heels, and that's it. Let your decision and your side carry you through no matter what. This is not the time for nuance. This is not the time for intuition or reflecting. And in fact, I think that nothing could be further from the truth. I think that what we have needed more than ever, and what, like I said, as I open this video, is most at risk now, is permission to have inner discernment and to trust our inner knowing and to connect to our own truth. And it's so funny to me. Oh, are we having trouble playing this video? Patty is here. Sue, Barbara, Karen. Oh my goodness, so many people. They're saying they're having trouble playing this video. That's interesting. I wonder if I'm still on. You know, what I've seen on other people doing Facebook Lives is that the video keeps going even though they can't tell that they're still on. So I'm just going to talk and let's see what happens here. Maybe that's so crazy. Sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. Shoot, guys. You know what I think I might do? I think what I might do is record this and then play it live. I'm so sorry to not be able to know for sure if I'm being broadcast or not. Although my video is on. Hey, could somebody comment? How about this? One of you who's here, would you be willing to just comment? I'm going to open Facebook in another window, and that way you can tell me if I'm still live, even though at the back end it's not saying for sure if I am or not. Okay, you can see and hear me with no issues. I'm just going to keep talking then. I'm just not going to see myself. That's cool. Okay, so I think where I left off was this phrase, knowing and owning your own truth. It has always felt a little bit flaky to me, like your own truth, like I need to own my own truth. It has always felt a little bit like, yeah, but what are the cold, hard facts? And I am a huge fan of doing your due diligence and connecting to the cold, hard facts. But then at that stage in the game, we need to take time to pause, reflect, and connect to our own inner knowing and to create our own discernment and then to act from there. Because if we're only in our intellect, and I know you guys who are, I see your names who are watching live, you know this as well as I do. I'm preaching to the choir here that being able to connect to your inner knowing, your intuition, and your own discernment is not something that you just leave off for one area of your life. It's not like, well, I connect to my own inner discernment in my spiritual life or in my creative life, or when I want to feel like, hey, do I want to take a bath now, or do I want to run? What music do I want to listen to? Your inner knowing and your truth and discernment, you can apply to financial matters, to what you're doing in your business, like I did this year, where I decided I need to just lie low and really sift through the party lines here, because these party lines, they're feeding us, they're trying to feed us an opinion and a point of view and how we're supposed to live our lives and what sides we're supposed to align ourselves with. And that is dangerous because that polarization, we talk about it now, right? In this world, like we're so much more polarized. We take it a little bit for granted, but what we need to do is stop the madness. Who's going to stop the madness? You are, I am, by taking time to pause and reflect and to sift through all of the facts and other people's opinions and then connect to our own inner knowing. And through that discerning inner filter, come up with what you really think and believe about anything. And it's scary because, in fact, right now I'm having some thoughts and I'm going like, okay, I'm going to share this and somebody might want to shoot me down for this. So, since this is my first live in a long time, I'm going to play it a little bit cool. Hey, Stephen. Hey, Judy. Here's what I'm going to suggest. First of all, not only do we need to collect facts and other people's opinions and then filter them through our own inner knowing and come to a discerned, aligned truth that is ours, that is yours specifically. And why we need to do that and stop the madness is that this polarization, you know that inside yourself, if you got black and white thinking, which I see with my clients all the time, it's like, should I do this or should I do this? There's no room for creative problem solving. There's no room for integrating the different parts of yourself. You know, you might be at battle with yourself, who isn't at a certain point when you're human, right? But you are a multifaceted person. We live in a multifaceted world. And when we try to boil it down to like left or right, you know, right or wrong, good or bad, black and white, like in terms of race, not just in terms of the kind of thinking that we're doing, it doesn't leave room for the full human experience. And the full human experience is, I think, what we're actually being asked to step into. And on the most positive side, I see that this polarization is giving those of us who don't feel right with it an opportunity to break free and to go, no, I'm going to interrupt this and I'm going to stop the madness. And so being able to own and listen to and then own your own truth and live it out in the world is so important for the world right now. But not just for the world, for you, because if you don't do this and you just start following the party line, there's that part of you that's going to feel like, I'm not telling the truth. Like just inside yourself, it might be very quiet, like, I'm not telling the truth. I'm lying here when I'm talking to this group of friends. I'm saying this thing, which I, partly believe. When I'm talking to this group of friends, I'm saying this thing. And I run into this all the time. I run into people who they think they recognize me as one of their own and start spouting some political belief system. And I'm like, I don't agree with everything you're saying. You can't rope me into that. And then I'll run into somebody from the other end of the spectrum and they'll do the same thing. Because why do they recognize me as part? Because I see good things on all ends of the spectrum. And the key thing here is not just does the world need people who are willing to be multifaceted and not just stuck in black and white thinking, but You need that for your own life, because if you come to your deathbed, you come to the end of the line in your life and you look back and you're like, oh my God, you're gonna, you know, those moments when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. Or those moments like we were just talking about when you're with someone and you're like, God, I am lying right now and it doesn't feel right. It might not feel overtly bad, but something just doesn't feel right. If you keep living from that, like, yeah, you know, like 40%, 60%, like, I'm good, 80% the time I'm telling the truth to myself. And I'm not saying you have to get on a soapbox and share in detail all of your political opinions. That's not what I'm saying. But you at least need to know inside yourself what your truth is. And you need to find a way to bring into alignment your inner truth and how you're living, who you're spending your time with, what you're doing, how you're interacting with the political sphere, how you're interacting with your children, with your work. It's so important. And the more you do that, you're going to find the harder it is to lie at all, even a little bit to yourself, right? At least tell yourself the truth. At least find time to pause and reflect and filter and find your own discernment, because this is your life. And man, I don't know if you have seen this in people who have died around you or people who've gotten to the end of their lives and they're bitter. You do not want that to be you. And it means being a little bit emboldened now and a little bit scared and taking a risk now to not only shift the world, but to shift your inner experience of yourself and of being alive. And it's so risky and so thrilling and so confidence inspiring when you do that, when you tell yourself your truth. You start to trust yourself more. So many great results happen. You can make decisions that you don't second guess yourself on. You can have true friendships because you know people like Steve, who's on here. He's one of the people I know. Like, I know where he really stands, and I know that I can count on him to hear me and not judge me, not just fight with me and discard me because I don't agree with every single one of his opinions, which I actually pretty much do, to tell the truth. You find your people, you start to feel more secure in yourself and in the world, and you also start to be discerning about when is the time to share that truth with what person or publicly, and when is it time to just quietly sit on that and not cause a ruckus for yourself because it doesn't serve the highest good or your highest path. So I'm not saying like non-discerning, just like blabbing your truth all over the place, because we've actually got too much of that going on, not enough listening and not enough discerning, really. But then ultimately, not only does getting connected to your own truth help you steer the ship of your life, but again, like I said, it gets you to the end of your life knowing that you did it. Because do you want to get to the end and go, damn it, I did not fucking do it? And then you're disappointed in yourself. I've seen that with people who are at the end of their lives. I've seen people who have been so influenced by what's happening in the world or in their family that they never break free and discover their own truth. And it is a tragedy. It is a flat out tragedy. And what you might want to start doing, first of all, you want to start taking the time to pause and reflect and get connected to your own inner truth. You might need a guide. I know that I have. That's one thing that I do with my clients is I help them connect to their truth. One of my favorite things that I'm most proud of in my work is that my clients surprise me all the time. Nowadays it's like they suggest if you want to be seen as a safe space for people of all different ilks, political walks of life, different gender identifications and sexualities and races, that you need to pronounce that front and center. And that's one thing that I'm actually thinking about, like, how could I do that? But fortunately, people find me. From all walks of life. I have so many people, like I had a client at one point where she was going through a divorce, and she was talking in a way that was sort of generalized about romance and dating. And I said, am I hearing you right in that it sounds like you'd be flexible about if you date men or women? And she goes, oh God, I've slept with more women than my husband has. I had no clue. I had never announced that, hey, I'm open to people of all different sexualities to work with, but we can start to recognize each other. But you also might want to start seeking evidence for different points of view or people who are taking this emboldened risk already, right? If you look at something like COVID, okay, I'm not saying dive into conspiracy theories, although It's so interesting, right? When you try to speak what your truth is, it's so interesting because just because something is being posited as a conspiracy theory and not the mainstream doesn't mean that the mainstream isn't the conspiracy theory. Am I right or am I right? I know that I'm right. So, if you want to be a free thinker, you need to look all around yourself, but also you need to look at people who are approaching with like a balanced, integrated style. Not black and white thinking, different points of view. So it's not like, because you can look at a non mainstream theory, that's what I'm going to call it now, not a conspiracy theory. And if somebody's going like, I think there might be some truth in this, that's one thing. If somebody's going, this is the right way, they've turned it into black and white thinking, they've turned it into polarization again. You want to check those people out, but what I'm suggesting is that you find people who have a nuanced, integrated approach to these big ticket items, like telling your own truth, Black Lives Matters, COVID, politics. You want to find people who have found their inner knowing, filtered through a bunch of facts, found their own inner discernment, and know what their truth is and are owning it publicly in a non-aggressive way. They're not trying to make you see it their way, but they're not, and they're not trying to say that, damn it, this is hard to articulate, isn't it? Do you get what I'm saying? So to give an example, I have seen that there are some African Americans who are looking at Black Lives Matter from a completely different perspective. Been fascinating to witness. There are some people who are saying, you can't trap me in a point of view that lacks nuance just because of my race. It has been fascinating. I'm trying to think if I should have come to this conversation with some names to give you, but I can't. But I have felt greatly relieved running into, for instance, people of color who are not just in a black and white way towing their party line. They're finding ways to break free and be emboldened and find their inner truth and express that out in the world. That's what I'm inviting you to look for, and what I'm inviting you to seek in your own lived experience is like, don't just mentally take on a construct. Take on whatever the information is, filter it through your own system, and then live your truth out in the world. And what would happen if then we invited everybody to do that? What an interesting, multifaceted world full of truth and not just mental constructs, where we're not just trapped in identifications where, for instance, I was raised Democrat. I have not been at all pleased with the Democrats since 2016. I actually did a podcast on if you want to have a nuanced, it's actually called How to Stay Sane Before, During, and After Election 2020. So if you want to check that out, my podcast is Dirt Road Less Traveled. I'm on all the podcast platforms. And that was the episode that came out. Did that come out on election day? It came out on election, the day after, whatever, right? That Wednesday. My podcast comes out on Wednesday. So you can check that out. But I want to say to you just this. I don't care if you agree with me or disagree with me. I want you to find your own inner truth, and I want you to own it. I want you to do your due diligence, and I want you to filter it through your own inner knowing and discernment, so you're not just going off half-cocked and being another asshole out in the world, right? That's not what we're talking about here at all. It's about discernment. And but also individuality, because we need all of the voices in the choir. That's how we harmonize. We need all the voices. All the voices matter. All the voices count. As soon as I said matter, I'm like, oh shit, now I'm opening myself up to some kind of fucking social activist criticism, which is one thing that I had to take some time this year and get comfortable with. Like, all right, it's been so nice in my work up until this point that people haven't lambasted me and sent me tons of hate mail. They've disagreed with me, but I have found a way to be very, God, the word that's coming to me is a little bit nice. It's like nice. I don't want to be too nice. I don't want to be too even keeled because I feel like I need to speak strong. I think that's one of the biggest messages that's come to me as I've explored and reflected and done my own due diligence and connected to my own inner truth this year is that I can't play it nice anymore. I'm going to be kind always. But nice to me implies a little bit of a lie, right? I'm hiding a little bit of my personal truth, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And I invite you to do the same. And if you're looking for a guide on the road to discovering and owning your truth, hit me up, send me a message. Let's set up a strategy session and a time to talk. I would absolutely love to help you get to your inner truth and to um, maybe not fearlessly, but boldly speaking it and walking it. And first, owning it quietly within yourself, because that, being able to be in alignment with yourself and knowing what your truth really is, that is key. Whether you're loud about it or just quietly knowing inside yourself, they're both good. You have to go with your own personality, right? And your own calling in the world. So if you're looking for that kind of freedom, I would love to talk to you. Send me a message. We'll set up a complimentary strategy session. And yeah, here's to you in this crazy year, getting empowered enough and powerful enough to hear your own inner voice, own it, and express it freely and unapologetically out in the world, and not just be corralled by all of the people who think that you should follow their party line. We need to stop the madness. All right, guys, till next time, lots of love to you all.